The Last and Eternal Fire by Joseph Leo Hickey III. First edition published by Blotting House. Disclaimer: this is a work of fiction. Names, characters, businesses, places, events, and incidents are the products of the imagination of the poet or used in a fictitious manner. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or actual events is purely coincidental. This book contained a fictional story about a woman from New York lamenting the loss of the father of her child, who was murdered on the last day of high school. This is the poetry books in the series: Love Poems at the End of Our Lives 2018, The Last Poem 2018, The Penultimate Poems 2019, The Revenant 2019, There's a Serenity in the Dark 2020, No Greater Sorrow forthcoming, The Last and Eternal Fire 2021, No One Ever Truly Dies forthcoming. Part 1. The Mother, from Serenity's perspective.
The rustling of the leaves in the wind. The warmth of the sun against my cheeks. If all these I remember my pain. Long nights, straight lights, long ordeals in which there is violence, devastation, in warmth, disease, and recovery. Your father was courage in the darkness, who gave his life to save me. Find the bells between morning and restoration and the new sunrise. Find the balance between desperation and deceit in the chaos inside your dreams. Life hurts immensely. Love hurts like a burning sea of the last and eternal fire. The first and glorious dusk. The sun sets on the only world we lived in, and we learn to live with loss. And you realize that no matter what you do, there will always be desperation in your despair. Hope, you will wander through the halls of a world that is filled with shadows. You will walk alone through the desolate streets of life. You will crave new worlds within your mind, opposed to everything you see. You will dive into the future. You will crave new beginnings. You will be on your program marathon journey of desperation in the deepest part of the world. You will expire like battle scars, only to heal so soon after. Words will flow from you that no one will hear. Songs will be sung that no one will pay attention to or listen to. In your dreams, you come alive. In your life, you drink in the despair, and you will not be able to move. You will always desire more than what you have been given. Always want more freedom than a small room the world has become. Always digging with claws deep into prison walls, trying to claw a path through. I will never be able to say goodbye to my daughter. But many things we are unable to do happen to us without our consent. When I wanted to give up my life, I lost the one I loved instead. When I was falling through eternity, I fell in love with my newborn daughter. I dreamed of love, life, and the creation of every world. Where there was hopelessness, life, and abundant glory. Where there was torture, there is tranquility. Anxiety has gone away and given way to silent, joyful breaths. The kind that welcomes every new moment of life. Because without a like they found, the wolf is unbelievably dull and impossible to live in. We spread our love throughout the world, like lightning through water, as a storm that illuminates the skies, as a rejection of every extremist politician, as the dawn of the era of human connection, as the words that flow from me, without knowing how to stop expressing them. When I was so much younger, my eyes were innocent, but the light of my body is my eyes. Then how great is the darkness inside of me? We are here together, fighting, trembling, frightened, shaking uncontrollably, aroused by sudden feelings of fear and dread, desperate to find ourselves in a world where we know the true meaning of touch. The truth of love is its communion. The truth of communion is its vigilance, and the joy of vigilance is the bond of the world. When we stand so patiently in the world, ready to fight the vampires that war against our souls, ready to take up the sword of our fathers, and run through the world to a place where we will find acceptance of the true chains and twains of the worlds. that had forgotten about the order of love. My mind completely flaring up with anxious thoughts and emotions, my life filled with encounters with liars. My only desperate hope is to escape from this life and enter a new one, in the name of love. We escape from hatred. We imbibe reconciliation, the joy of all things coming together, the way they were always destined to be. The quiet noise of the birds in the morning, habitual, waking me, stirring me to get up and face the 9-to-5 routine, with bravery and the courage of your father. The days when we hope to be free from lack of expression, the lack of a constant anthem in our own of arts. When we dream about finishing works of art, we are not sure if we will ever have the courage to start. But once the pen hits the paper, we roar our lives across the margins of the page until the book is finished and we have created something that entices you to read it. You're the one I dream of when my heart goes down. You're the one you're the one I feel inside my dreams. What all I have is a prayer. Come with me into the night, and we will watch the stars fly through the sky together. When they fly through the sky, they consistently return to us. Anthems of the last breath of the last of us. We were too short of breakfasting them. As presidents made speeches about their nations, while ignoring those they represented, we continued dreaming about worlds we lost in a way that only art could portray. I lay down and dried my eyes from all the tears. I knew that the past could never come back to us, and that we wasted too much of our time trying to recover it, and that there are so many stories that need to be told about what resides in our hearts. How much longer can we live here as souls alone? Slogans branded, brandished, butchered, oversold, oversaid, not believed in. The future we planned for no longer safe. The world we traveled toward was no longer the world we longed for. The economies of our hearts have been destroyed. My destiny is to stay here and mourn, always looking at the walls of these rooms and imagining what it is like to be suffering in a hospital. How much pain can you feel when you are poor or suffering? The greatest joy and the greatest suffering, the greatest exaltation and the greatest of all poverty. The fight will never end until the world is destroyed. When we are younger, our words are simpler. Our problems are not understood. Language, mysticism, desperation. We never run out of words. We never run out of space to write these words. Your blank canvas is the world we live in. Our fight, we will never stop until the world is written over, with the poems we held close into our hearts. Our poems ring true millions of times over. Scream out your words like the chilling resonance of the echo chamber of your own weapon, the place in which your voice springs, and we hit a rhythm with our words, our voice springing out from the page. Something I have learned, something I have loved. It's how to dream, about worlds we would never visit except in dreams. I mourn your father. I discern the truth in quiet rooms. We are all so vastly separated, and I'm overexhausted from playing out the same memories in my mind, like tapes with CDs we play over and over. My soul is free. Was never owned. Free as the breeze. Fathomless as the oceans. Hotter than a sun. Greater than all hardware and software. Understand me on the broken pages, the bleeding pages of my story. Contemplate it for a moment. Move on. Walk away, as the cosmos comes together in unison, echoing the truth in the stars. The light behind the stars floods the fathomless depths of eternity, and draws you in closer to these steps. The blood oozes out of us in our eternal suffering, paying most of us on the floor of the classroom, as I was pulled kicking and sprinting out of those hallways, the desperate times we live in. Let me lay down truths you never listened to. The love that will never be expressed until it's too late. The nature of existence, how we are all floating through the layers of despair, looking to find the one we love, somewhere in the depth of shadows. How we have no understanding, only helplessness. Sometimes heaven is impossible to place your hope in. Sometimes the fires of hell are a little too bit familiar to be a distant demonic fantasy. In this life, there are so many tribulations which we all go through together, holding hands, watched over by whatever we believe in. If you can completely eviscerate your despair, come and find me, and tell me about the way the world looks afterward. Kiss me under the light of the moon. when we are young. I don't want to be just friends. I want something that never ends. The words your father said that echo in my mind forever and hereafter. I am here loneliness, when I am not understood by any soul that hears my words, except as incoherent sentences. Spit out the truth you know, no matter what indignant reaction you get, even if you cannot find the words to express it completely. Poetry is the truth and the new dawning of glory. Poetry is the death of a world, in the building up of countless greater ones, the sensation we feel now. Come hold on to it before it becomes too late, and it is gone. Music is unlike anything else in the world. Art is the strings tying your souls together, that open to let love come in and out freely. Catch up to me in the shadows, as we sprint back to our home after the longest war, with the greatest unspoken evil. You walk to the city alone at night. In the morning you call a cab, and go to the bus station, where you travel to another state, because it is best to have no place to call home. You have become the voice of all the nations, the silent acceptance of all people just as they are. You've dug between them, and experience everyone for yourself. You surrender your broken heart, and let it be broken a million times, because you know that a heart broken can be mended and broken infinitely, because you felt the heartbreak of your brothers and sisters. Hope, you are the mending of universes that have gone off course, setting them aright. You will be one of the last persons to live and walk this earth. The romance of dying in youth, the drowning and forgetting. Your words scattered and burned, withered like the flowers we used to see when we were walking through the park. The lament of youth and its passing, the pressing fear of growing older, moves on forward for eternity. Until the mind is no longer cognizant of the obvious truth in the world, that there will be no more miracles. We've exhausted all of our chances to ever escape the small room where time relentlessly passes. When loneliness creeps in to visit us, nights coming home to a dark apartment and even darker city, where the lights have all gone out for the last time, sitting in the cold room, waiting for the world to come alive again. You grasp hold of the covers, you squeeze them tightly, vainly hoping that they will warm you, like the touch of another, but all others are gone. During the day the sun rises, but it is a broken sun. It does not give off nearly as much heat. It barely warms your skin. You walk through the same park again, but all the flowers are wilted. People go through the parks of the world, gather up all the flowers, throw them into the fire, and they are burned for all of eternity. The streets now all empty, cracks into the concrete, open wide, and voices from within the earth echoes through, expressing thoughts we all knew to be true. You never spoke up about. You leave the city, hoping to find more life in the woods, the nature of the world. You spoke to the winds, and they didn't speak a soul to you as they did before. The winds of the world had grown completely silent. The animals had all gone. You knew you were at the end of the world. As you walked away from the city, you noticed the skyscrapers had all collapsed, leaving rubble all up and down the streets, through which I used to carry you across. You remember the violence you experienced during your life, and you realize that now all of it is over. You won't have to think about the torment of needles piercing your skin. Now you took the needles and ripped them out of your skin violently, so that they would never pierce you again. You were free. Your soul was never owned, bargained for, and would live to see another sunrise, even a colder sunrise. Your father brought me flowers that night. When I was broken from being lied to and stolen from, he strung truth back together from the tangled web that only two timing tongues can trip together. He was there in that moment until almost the very end. I remember standing underneath palm trees, the light breaking through the into winter, dreaming about pain. I remember hiding underneath my covers, sleeping further into memory, the chilly wind of the world behind me and ahead of me, everywhere except from underneath my own bed sheets. Rocks like the oceans, swayed by the wind from the once unshakable foundations. the mourning that only comes in the desperation of tragedy. And in this tragedy, each morning brings a new nightmare until the cycle of grief never flows its full course. The cascading darkness that falls over an unsuspecting world, where we sit alone in rooms, never to find the soul of another, never to listen. If the shadows hold me, I fly through their abyss, and am welcomed by them, the music of God urging us forward. While we are overtaken, knowing that this was our destiny, the life we never wanted, separated on opposite ends of eternity, our hearts incredibly fragile, our lives infinitely broken, our minds set on only truth, in a sea of lives that shift like sea life. Finding their own motion, dreaming their own dreams, losing control of our emotions, dreaming on the floor of the subway station, gazing at the trains coming and going. I walk toward the train, seeing him on the other side, and he takes my hand and guides me in a life beyond despair, where despite our failings, we come closer and hold on to the truth in our hearts. Your father took my hand and guided me out of the subway station, and we ran together through the streets, as if they were once again driving. With a million months passing, the world changes slowly. He showed me the videos of us sitting on the floor of our bedrooms, weeping in the time spent running away from the torment in our hearts. He told me the best parts of our lives were the parts that sum with passion, that without the love of a new morning, we were desperate and had nothing. And also that though we were lonely, we would not always be alone. And that in the chaos of the passing order of creation, we would all find our place. In that everyone eventually comes to a circle, to the place they were in before, following deeply in the footsteps of their loved ones. In that in death we all become very compassionate. We watched as you, Hope, traverse the world alone, and the streetlights have not grown any brighter. We saw the wicked politicians threaten to lock all the doors of the world just before the end, so that you could not find anyone you loved. And there was no one to trust and no God to pray to, just an always present anxiety over a world that was about to be transformed by violence. Those gathering the flowers in the park began to steal all the beauty from the world, starting with the music. They took it, didn't know what it was, and slaughtered it, so that no instruments could be played, and no one would know what a song was again. We saw you walking through the outskirts of a lonely nation, and you were the only refugee to escape. I saw a single tear fall down your cheek as you walked toward the ocean, having nowhere else to go. The stealers of the lights were approaching, and you did not know what they wanted to take from you. They approached and tried to take the book of poems you wrote about your experience, but they could not, because poetry exists for old time and eternity. Louder than music, more vibrant than old songs, more glorious than the greatest art of old time. Poetry stands alone in mystery. The love poems you wrote at the end of your life were the greatest that had ever been written. But there were no worlds left to admire them. The people were long gone now, after the stealers of the light had taken everything good from the world. Everyone left the world looking for another world. But you still walk these streets, standing in the middle of the oceans, dreaming about the now forgotten memories of our once solid, but now fragile future, falling like broken glass onto the kitchen floor of our lives, gathered up and thrown into the machine, incinerated forever. No voice would be heard in the world. You were the last one to thrive in the world. So you began to celebrate with the joy of your ancestors, who would hear you. But you could not hear them. You spun around in circles as if the creatures in the sky would hear you. As if only in the sudden expression of joy do we become compassionate to the small things around us. You dreamed of the days you would spend away from isolation, but eventually you could never remember what that was like. You would drown in the pool of sweet nothingness for 1,000,000 times before the end of your life. Eventually you discovered that you were the last one who was breathing, and that God would not come back to find you. You knew that your world was beautiful. You were making it the one you wanted it to be. A new world, a brave world, one with no violence and death. But it never existed outside your mind. Your mind started to create worlds that was so real, because yours was the only mind, as if nothing that is not observed exists at all. Your human heart was the most vibrant, the clearest heart, the most fathomless heart, pierced by the arrow of tragedy, like your parents, like a night would fall, and the sun would rise as it had before, and the sun would never rise as it had before ever again. You fell violently into the ground and tasted the dirt. When you arose, after you hit the ground, you found yourself ready to confront the world, wiping the dirt off your shirt, walking again into a world filled with people who did not realize that their world would soon come to an end. You saw those who were preparing to seize the flowers, hiding in secret, but preparing to devastate the world all the same. They were planting in the shadows. You could see the flowers and you relished in them, because they reminded you of the times of the past. You inhaled the memories they gave you when you were younger and we were still together. You dragged yourself in these moments, flowers of funerals, of time past, of lights in the sky, which we thought were only fireworks, but they were bombs. They devastated our world. Memories of love given to you and lost, because he went away and you never saw him again. Of a conflict in the world where there can only be shadows if you do not shine the light yourself, where no one will hear your voice, where there are desperate lives, streets, where you struggle to discover where your next meal is coming from, how our hollow stomachs fill with pangs and misery, in no way to find food, especially at the end of the world, where everything we do matters, and we have to sit back and think about what we should do, and there is no time to half-ass anything. These are our last moments. You walk the avenues where I once walked, and you echo your voice louder than ever. You sit on the bar stool with a beer in your hand, watching the news, and you see the reports on the news, advertisements that money can buy happiness. You dance with a stranger as they announce that the bombs will soon fall. These are the worst moments of life, when we know the future has not prepared itself as a welcoming home, but instead greets us with the unquenchable flame, in an insatiable lust to destroy and make our lives miserable, destroy everything we have so far built. How the politicians lie, saying they won't win it, silence their opponents. But when the sword is in their hands, it only takes a moment to raise the sword and strike off the head of innocence. Meanwhile, words flow from your pen that no one will read, because everyone was focusing their attention elsewhere, on the constant news they were fed, not believing anything different from the narrative they were fed, always inhaling the gasoline, getting ready to come home and drink a match. Without a guide in the world, there is no anchor to hold on to. There were moments when you moved to a new city. You came to the hotel room, closed the door, and didn't let anyone in. The joy of finding love in the darkness of the room, the exhilaration of the moment when we touched. My purpose in this life is to get as close to the sunlight as possible. It is better to be you than to imitate someone else. It is better to drink from the empty bottle than it is to lose yourself in someone else's control. I will never be owned. Now here I am, free as the wind, greater than all sensations, bitter or sweet, somewhere in between, somewhere unable to see, somewhere across the oceans in a small room dreaming, infinitely more to write about each day. There are curtains that are drawn back, and through the windows we see the sun piercing into trees. The truth in love. Unbreakable, unmovable, always forever piercing through the clouds of uncertainty. Where the world is unsure, love is certain. How can we know when we will ever escape from the shell we have found ourselves in by mistake, except by grasping on to love and never letting go of it, of taking love and holding it, of gripping the love tighter in the ocean of our own dreams, the music that surrounds us when we are alone together in our room, whispering quietly, dreaming softly, forever and always encapsulated at a moment where we believe we'll never be again happy. The days pass quickly, while students walk through the hallways, and the homeless tread the streets of a city that will not for much longer exist. If you can hear my voice, sing the anthems of the words I'm regurgitating. Come to me with all you are, and I will open up the secrets of the wind, passing by your face, always forcing you in the motion of the world. Come be with me as the blinding sunlight, flies into our hearts, guiding us to the place we need to go. Sitting there absolutely alone, we were together for such a short time. The floor gives out underneath my feet, and I start sinking to a place I wished I would never fall. I stitched my soul together from the piece of your heart that you gave me. I loved you more than you could comprehend. I craved images where we would sit together and we would be thankful. Come here with me in this moment, where my words enshrined on the page will soon have life. My head filled with negative emotions, my life overcome by a mystical force. I walked out of the world, creating connection with the ghosts underneath my heart. The crowd cheers as the story unfolds. I believe in the life that guides the nations. I dream that you are here. The flow and movement of my words. All I want is to be understood, heard. Contemplate my words for a few moments, and take my one last breath and know. The world didn't become as dark as we thought it would be. Your love tattooed on my heart. Your joy grafted into my cheeks. Your doves flying peaceably in the sky. We have no idea how they got here or where they will be in the next 4 years. The moment when we hold love so close inside our hearts, and all we dream about is being away from the torture of the past. Dream with me this night and fall asleep for forever at least. Talk with me for hours in this dream. Fly with me as far as we can. Focus for a moment on the things we love. Chaos within the world of desperate noise, of clamoring politicians who enslaved us and we could not easily escape from their grasp, except when we locked the doors to our rooms and relentlessly wrote the story of the end of our lives, of all things ending, of the triumph of death. I sat with you in those hallways. I fell with you and sank to the bottom. I loved you with every new moment, and every passing day was a miracle. Give me the soul you hid away from everyone else. Show it to me, and I will feel it. Comprehend you in my sacred places, holding the match in the merciless downpour. Across the room at the party, you look at me. We know how much we want each other. We fall head over heels after each other. We break through with our passionate praise of the bright, glorious world that we found by accident. Memory, flooding every empty space, each moment of my life, drilling up the margins of my brain. They never escape my mind. No matter how much tension builds up, the glorious lead we found. We were never owned. Freeze the ever-flowing breeze. The breeze tongs me through every moment, in which I am no longer sure for the future. We cry out in the night, when no one but the breeze is there, to carry our voices. Music always dawning. Its sun never sets. Unstoppable. Patient above all things. Watchful, waiting for you to breathe out again and mingle your own free-flowing voice with the current. And deep inside you is that same network of music, flowing on forward, your emotions forever flowing through you. Tonight you eagerly await the new creation of the music that will flow all throughout the world. In this way, your voice is free. Those who went through the world, masked and dressed all in black, approached, as fierce, violent, and frightening, and more frightened than any nightmare. They only desired one more thing, to seize the breath within your soul. They reached deep inside you, attempting to snuff it out, but nothing worked. Hope, they could not get hold of it. And once again, you escaped their prison and stood on a mountain, watching the meteors fall, as they cascaded to the hearts of cities. All their own more since Dagi went away. Knowing your life was lit with the grace it was made to carry, joyfully and gloriously, patient, you waited for the end of all time. The cold wind that blows across your back, let it take you over. Fall through with your dreams. Merge yourself with a vibrant world. Flow through it like water, immersing yourself underneath every part of it. Flee from the control that is thrust upon you. Dream in the ocean of this world, all things merging equally together. All these things the cold wind spoke to you, and infinitely more, including the memories of youth, car trips across a nation that was fading into slavery, despair of the next morning when writing alleviates the torture and frees all the worlds, greets you in the morning when you are afraid of never becoming the person you are meant to be. But you are more than prophet, more than preacher, more than the idle Lord. Your actions flow throughout the world, merging with all parts of it. The spirits come to me in the night, as I converge with the doves that fly through the air, bringing us joy and peace. We were broken before we were put back together. We were carried by our lovers through the rest of eternity, until suddenly we were brought to the only one who could resurrect us. If you could hear my voice, you would know that you are no longer alone at the end of this world. I see you as you wait for the lights to fade, as you wait for the last of the lights to go out, as the final plague ravages all worlds, and you realize that the end was always so close, a little apocalypse everywhere you looked. Look to nature as your only authority. And remember that you are here, breathing, and that is enough for now. You let the voices that are fading past you fade, and fill the expanses of the empty nothingness as the end of the world, as the curtain of judgment draws back, and you remember where you are, endlessly proceeding into the pool of water, falling and sinking deep into this water, a comfort because it washes off the gasoline from your skin forever, so that you will no longer ignite when heat strikes you in the moment of torment. Cherish the ones who ease the torment of your life. Hold them closer knowing that they are your true friends. Thicker than all blood, greater than all knowledge, is this kind of love that always follows you and holds you close. Love no longer found here at the end of the world. Come drink for me. Tell me your stories. Write them all down. I will inhale them. I will drink them too. I will burn up with the last and eternal fire, the intent of justice scorned, the desire to always and forever achieve the love you wanted, never goes out even when you die. Here you sit on top of the mountain. You dream of a life without danger, where you are always comfortable. But then, after thinking for hours, you realize the danger is what makes life beautiful. You wouldn't have it any other way. Always thinking about better worlds you will never find. The anger, the emotion, the violence of a life broken, promises overthrown, lost memories, spirits you will never understand, speak to you, taunting you, telling you about wars that are coming, in the snowflakes that fall in the graves of those who are dead during the nuclear winter. We actually dug our own graves, without words, in the things we have failed to do. The last prayer within our hearts never reached anywhere but the outskirts of our mind. You wondered if anyone could still hear you. Now that all the stars had got out and died, here you stood alone as a soul. Are you strong enough to face the end by yourself? You were always desperate within the world. Now you see no world at all, except for brief memories that flash through your mind. All you did in your life you did for love. You blame no one. You fell for the curtains of time, remembering all things, starting with your earliest memories. The dawn of a world, its final dawn before it cascaded into hate. When bombs blew off their shells, spreading through the memories, homes, bodies, lives. We resolve within our own souls to cherish the few moments we had even in a broken world. The wind was left in the world, but could not hold your soul, instead it swept it far away. The cycles of life were always passing. This would have always happened. The wind was there with all its desire and all its mystery, the same sensation, always of its caresses, sinking deeper into the expanse of the wind. You get into its embrace and follow its current to new memories. You are totally overcome by this current. And you don't want to move away. My voice is calling you, but still you cannot hear my voice. the power within our souls to dream, even while we are swept up to new world. Emotions are as wild and as free as nature, more honest and ever-flowing as the wind. We always were craving to feel this current. But not everyone embraces it, and very few are entrenched in it. Families come together now, the bond of our love. The story told of forgiveness, which echoes forever until the last nanosecond of old time. And at the end, we could not truly understand what time even was. Flowers burning, which just yesterday were admired. I am driven by the winds that tug on my heart. The origins of this fire that you encounter. At the end, we all know. More problems will be written about it, even when our voices are heavy. And it is painful to breathe and to speak. The tugging winds of time, in the coarse and false breath of poetry, carried by the same wind. I forever will sit and write, as if I could never lift my eyes from the blank pages. Love is the only certain truth we crave. Nothing else is sure except for love. Life vanishes from the face of the earth, and love hovers over the waters. You fall in love. You guide me to your family, and I greet my grandchildren, the broken pieces of a world that sheds its tears. As each moment is a reminder that none of this will happen. Hold on to me forever, and after. We will walk away somewhere into the light. Our lives falling to pieces like the rhythm of my words, out of breath, and can no longer speak. The disaster we feel, we could have avoided, but we know in our gut that nothing we do will avoid pain, heartbreak of either the death or divorce. But their love remains, holding on forever, patient above all, diligent in its want, impervious in its shamelessness. Nothing you can do to stop it. Love has become the last and eternal fire, desiring the satisfaction of all forgotten worlds, until these needs are satisfied. Follow me into the light of this flame, and together we will bathe in the light. Those who were seizing the flowers, we could also see them. They were eternally afraid of drawing near to this flame, but it was all-consuming. No defense, no alibi. No court could ever exonerate them of what they knew. Inside their bitter bones, they were drawn to its light like a siren. They walked toward it in all of the horror they could express, and they began to feel the warmth until it consumed them, and they became something entirely different. They were altered, forever changed, only to be placed in a new world, with no memory of all the flowers they brought to the furnaces. In the ashes, the flowers came together as one, and I stood somewhere far off. As I watched, you hear the last sob of the flowers, which represented the waning beauty of the falling world. As all the cosmos was approaching this end, drawing closer to the all-consuming flames, I watched as you stood alone, unnoticed and unalarmed. I saw the monsters we dreaded throughout our lives approach the flames, in their many forms, criminals, liars, cheaters, turncoats of every sort, thieves, they all drew near. I thought after a brief moment of agony that the flames would simply spit them back out again, unable to accept them. But here they were, burning and accepted by the flames until they were changed forever, into something not even I, a phantom, could recognize. They were neither good nor evil. They had simply become one with the nature of the world. And I could no longer blame them for the torment both of us had experienced. I knew that even after all these years I had so much love inside my soul. I became weak and could no longer support myself. I saw God fanning the flames of the fire, because although it would take forever, there were more worlds to consume. Where hearts were broken, this fire burned, drawing what was left of hearts to the realization that all good and evil things in the universe were at the mercy of these flames. I saw the fear in your eyes as you took one step too close to the flames, and you knew that you could no longer stop yourself from free falling into it, fear in your eyes as the flames consumed you as well. As soon as you hit the flames, you gritted your teeth, I'm sure, eternally worried about what was about to happen to you. The flames turned a darker shade of blue. As soon as you touched them, you knew that there was only so much torment you could take before giving in to the flames and falling forever into them. But eventually, you became comfortable in the distress, and you let them engulf you. You inhaled the smoke of the end of all time. With the life of worlds decaying, you realized that the flames began to nurture and heal you. Your heart was raging, ready to burst. With so much emotion, you knew that the world you left, you would never desire to return to. There was no more love left in your broken home. You were healed by the flame. You reemerged, and you were now able to feel so much more within the cosmos, so you drifted past the stars and fled through the curtains that keep us locked within our own array of experience. Life was always distant from us. Life was always different from us when our souls were sleeping, bleeding on the pages of the story we were telling. You remembered when you were left alone in the world. Distinct memories of walking through the foggy streets of New York City. Lost in a world that was being torn down. Speaking out words like graffiti on the wall. Your life had become nothing but unrhymed poetry. Missing pieces in your heart that would never be returned to the center. Dream with me on the floor of the sidewalk. Listen as I call your name. And you were always true to your name. Where I was crying, you were happy. Mourning the loss of your father, I looked for him in the flames, but could see no evidence of him, of his passing or of his coming. I could never get my love for him to leave my heart. I dreamed about him when I didn't want to. I don't want to be just your friend. I want something that never ends. The world is always quieter when I'm dreaming next to you. Words echoed in my head. And I will never forgive myself, and I don't know why. I swear to God, all I wanted within the world was to meet those flames of the fire, which consumed all. I approached them, and they only spit me back out again. If my words are taking on their own rhythm, then they will flow forever, in the current of the flow of the wind, threatening to take us over, drawing us to the culmination of all things. Even what we loved more than our own lives was ripped from us, and nothing would save us. As if every day I would look for letters from the one I loved more than anything, believing he was still alive, but he is long gone. And we believe that after our deaths, we become nothing and float like the ashes in the wind. But really, those ashes are no longer us. We have grown so far away from what we used to be, dreaming with me until I become delusional. But the only thing that gives me comfort is the world in my mind. Weakness in our hearts. Our lives forever broken. But the world can't be against us if the world doesn't exist. Time can march on forever. Time no longer exists. The cold embrace of loneliness would visit me and never leave. Colder winds catch up with us, flooding our hearts, overcoming persecution, guiding us to lands where we can be satisfied. We grasp on to what we know. We never forget those we love. Time always pressing against us until our voices are snuffed out. Certainty in our minds desiring to explore adventure and discovery. With every step we take, edging closer to the majestic mountains, the beauty of the unknown, the beauty of falling deeper into the ravine, seeing the light of the world through the cracks in the sky, the veil between what you feel and your desires paper thin. Joy forever, night embracing us with its chill and its wind. There is no longer any place I'd rather be than here, as if in a dream, jointly mourning what we lost, forever grateful for what we've had, held so closely in the night, patient above all things. What we know about the world is nothing compared to what we may discover in the next aching moments. The morning of the storm, loft in its shadow, despair in the morning of dreams, Hold me so close, dream with me, sing the complete anthems of eternal joy. Lost in this world we desire to never leave, and we are comfortable in the dark, the folds of shadows, calling us into breathing life of expression, so that we never stop expressing, always seeking and finding everything we're made for. I never want to live in a world where everything could be currency, even attention, the time it takes to listen, bought and sold, expression never praise the breeze. Listen very carefully. Each moment in which we dread the approaching glory of the new day, because of the uncertainty equal brain, where we never hear a sound in the forest of the world, besides the ringing in our ears from all the discordance of decay of life. My heart was broken. I could not fit that together myself. Yours was broken too, and you lived during the end of the world. Then walk the streets, lonely as the breeze. You tread the open city, with no one to stop you. You could live anywhere you wanted, go anywhere you wanted, now that the phantoms of pattering feet against pavement were also long gone. Linger with me for a while, before the smog comes to choke us one last time. Sit with me here at the table. Have a few drinks, listen to the music, and we will eat our last meal together. Feel the desperation that only comes from knowing we only have so much time left in the world before all expires. The memories burning in my mind. Tears from our scars. There is a fire in our hearts burning forever. As you run through the streets one last time, as you drink to the life of the world one last time, as the lament of the passing time grows inside your veins, as each moment that passes brings more second-guessing in not knowing what will happen tomorrow. Forget tomorrow. Live in the present moment. Breathe in the truth of love forever. Learn from the simple passing cadence that music will be poured out forever upon the world that never knew love, had no name for it, had no way to express it, but always knew what it wanted deep inside its dreary heart, always afraid of losing what it could not define, paralyzed by the wind of this feeling, more than a feeling, more than a virtue, more than a person, always longing for what will never occur. But this longing lasts forever, even until the end of all time, and its beauty stands for all eternity as an example, a beacon for lovers to find their way somewhere closer, their only home, their only way home, away from the demons that flooded their hearts in youth, towards something new and unbelievable, true and gloriously passionate, worthy of all praise, in drawing all to their imminent satisfaction. Come sing with me in this night. Breathe with me, and hail the smog as it floods the city. Find a soul to dream with, and then lime the concrete, and dream with that soul. You are always looking forward to every new feature moment, never afraid, always welcoming it. There is really nothing we should be afraid of, no torment we can't face together, because all of us are quickly drawing near to the last and eternal fire, the ocean of its embrace. Held so deeply to the embrace and the embrace of strangers, you echo back poetry, and thank them for the moment. I will sit here and read you poetry. I will embrace the oceans that swallow us when my words are pronounced, when I draw closer to the fulfillment I have always sought. I will dream in this ocean, as if addicted to itself and sway. I need this ocean to swallow me, and I will be comfortable there forever. Although I know for certain that it can only skip me back out. Even if I am the only soul to brave it more than once, I will sing within my heart songs you will only hear in the dark. Dreams we can only feel together. Life that would only grow in power when the bliss of surrender overcomes us, when the violet find their end in the same place as us, and are brought to the justice of this flame, when all we are is dust in the wind, when all we are is the anthem of nations, all we are the summers we have forgotten, lamenting the rectitude that will never be spoken to us, because there will be no more talk of right and wrong, because all that will be left is right. All we will dream about is the fantasy of the way the world will become, if the violent lay down their arms. When the world grows closer to its end, we hold on to dreams of past lives, in past experiences and remember that we made it through these events 1,000,000 times before, and there are trillions ahead. The life of a broken world, the mystery of falling to the stars like they're dust, until we dream of becoming more than who we are. As if there was nothing in the world watching over us, guiding us to a better place. Every word we hear heals us, breaks our hearts, recreates us, and sweeps us far away. Melody running through our hearts, like the forgotten anthem of all the nations. Greet me in this morning. I need to feel your warm embrace, the delicate morning of silence approaching, the life of a world approaching, falling against our skin, warming us until we fall asleep and fall deeper into this world, which we have imagined together. Follow me into the dark. Follow me as I surrender my secrets to the wind against my back, as the compassion I never had in life falls me in death, as the glowing truth of the nations is never heard again. All that is left are small voices, quiet voices, softer than a whisper, brighter than the sun, but not everyone can see them. The passing breeze reminds me that time no longer exists. The anthem of nations no longer sung, reminded me that we wasted our lives away, with windows down on the freeway, our arms outstretched for love, dreaming of the truth we would find, open in the arms of the other, lying with our back against the dirt, looking into the eyes of another. Our eyes catch the passing time, as the stars are released from their shells, then give off abundant light. I tread through these streets where people would stand alone, where the only hope we had was through the chemicals in our minds. At times like these, we wanted nothing other than the warmth of the sun on our faces, the love we would feel each morning, of understanding the truth in a single moment of happiness, that our desperate souls longed to be filled with anything that was tangible. I walked the path of the city and saw the lights from the movie theater. I dreamed of finding myself in a world where there would be nothing but the chill wind against my spine, and that I could feel this wind pulling me far away from where my emotions could take me by themselves. I cherished the warmth when I felt it, though it too was only fleeting and passing. Cover me like the dawn of the same morning, in our run after the wind. Cover me like the oceans that were once calm within me, but now explode into unprecedented waves and storms, blowing through every side of a world that is dying to celebrate what it has found in a moment of pure serendipity. If you could feel my love, hold it. If you can cherish me in your life, you will understand that death is the only time we could become very compassionate. In that future dawn, you will forget about me, and I will fall through the oceans of worlds that forgot about us. If heaven is filled with warmth, we are not far from it, and we are called by those we love. And when we hear our names called, we run blindly into the dark until we find our place of satisfaction. The mystery we fall into, when we understand that only in death do we discover all of our secrets we have been longing to discover, that the oceans that were once calm within me are more violent than the oceans of Jupiter, raging, red, fiery storms, beautiful, gloriously tantalizing, and we fall into them. These oceans that erupt into storms deep inside my heart, falling like the melody of a song we will not forget. I call your name in the darkness, but you can't hear. You sink somewhere deeper into the shadows. You sink somewhere deeper into the shadows looking for me, grasping in the dark, hands greeting me when you find your way back to me. I grasp them and pull you the rest of the way, to a place where you will be able to stand firmly your own ground, to be your own support, and to hold on to everything you love. When the world falls in itself, you will hold on to everything you love, and you will be stable, steady through the rest of the world, though the rest of the world is rocked by unprecedented waves and storms, capsizing the ships of the world. When your ship makes landfall, you walk on new shores, you see the harbor, and you greet the strangers there. Sailors who often tread the shores of different nations, the smell of the sea, the salt in the earth, the gulls in the air, the life of a world, the sea water, your heart flooded with the same water, the same salt water flooding through your veins. You're always destined to be on the sea, going from place to place, never sedentary, always moving, always with so much motion, always dreaming about worlds where you would have a stable and unchanging life. You dream of before the docks. You look out at the sky and realize how quickly the world is changing. Your body doesn't age, but the world moves on without you. As people live and die, the world stays the same. In this world, we live and thrive and grow. The nights are even colder than you ever imagined. You sink in the same sleep, as if each dream was the same dream, as if each moment of life was part of the same life, as if each morning that drew you closer to the following night was passing at an unstoppable and uncontrollable rate. You are the poet of the voiceless. You are the poet of the soul, and not only of these things, but of the soil, whose earth bears all things, both good and evil, and alive and desolate, but desperate and hopeful, both glorious and lowly, both bloody and charitable, both loyal and traitorous. I call your name Hope, but you still cannot hear me. We'll make sense of the chaos, the joy and its pain. As you watch a million ships anchor and refuel and depart on their eternal voyage, as you steer yourself on to one of these ships and sleep there, and watch the waves roar on the seas, as you anchor yourself towards a better shore, a brighter life than the one you were in before, you hold on to the anchor, and you are unmovable. Though the waves try to rock you, you are steady, firm, unshaken, until the storm clears and your ship moves towards its hopeful shore, clawing toward a future where there will be peace and financial stability, a life where we are no longer fearful, where we dream of perfect situations. In my sleep, the world changed forever. I was absorbed in dreams. I never wanted to leave. I could feel the oceans that were once calm within me grow ravenous and insatiable. They swallowed every experience, whether bitter or sweet, whether prideful or lowly, whether overt or absolutely hidden, whether lonely or as a crowded nation teeming with souls. My heart drew all these experiences, holding them inside, close to the joy I'd longed for, knowing that all things only eventually draw close to their final termination. I remember sitting on the grass with friends and listening to music. I remember the nation teeming with fear of the uncertainty of the lives who would meet together. I remember the judgment I felt when it was currency for you even for a moment to read my words, scribed out on the page of my broken heart. We meet the end of the line long before our appointed time. Scurrying through these streets like souls through the void, breathing violently until we can no longer breathe, the bitter sensation that becomes by itself unbearable in the silence of the morning, when no more voices are heard, and none are even listened to when they are heard. Hold me closer in this night, when the sun will no longer rise, when our nations are teeming with vast uncertainty, when the people we used to know are now so far from us. Breathe me in like the pages of a book you imagine writing all your life. Find those pages unread. I and your voice unleashed. My youth has been broken. My life was stripped away, and I stood alone with the crossroads of uncertainty facing me. Not knowing which road to choose or where to walk, I stood at the crossroads for a generation. As the fads passed, I stood here alone as a soul. Move with me through the morning light, the pace of time passing, as I dream of better days and situations that pass us by while we are asleep. Not enough hours in the day, memories of the days we spent, excited to be in the world. I breathed in the past and exhaled the future, steering away from violence, dreaming on the floor of the hospital, dreaming that I am no longer sick, believing I might one day eventually be healed, waiting here. Let the people pass through these hospital doors, and I will weep. I fall out of love all the time with those I was destined to meet. The stars all align perfectly, except my heart is aligned somewhere else, where there are elusive dreams. I have lost everything I ever held close. I have always held your hand through the prison windows, grasping the torch, searching blindly for it in the darkness, never finding it in my hands. It is always so far away. Dream with me on the floor of your heart. See the stars aligning peaceably with my intellect and soul. In the loneliest hours of my life, be with me. The passing time claws all of us. When I took my last breath, I know I did everything for love. Here at the end of my life, everything would go on forever, though. No end in sight. No end would be met. Pain and pleasure all melded into one, and were swallowed by honest love.
Part 2, The Father, from Haynes' perspective.
I gazed into the darkness at the corner of my bedroom. When the lights of the explosions came crashing through, and we turned on our TVs and watched them flood, danger fraught with passions, words thou as mighty as the God of our imagination, the tyrant that we would let have control of our small part of our lives. The years passed, they never let us go. Nightmares flooding my front door, bashing truth in our souls against the rocks, thrusting us down, but they are all surprised when we rise again, once again alive, ready as ever to greet a hopeless world with joy. Words they censored, now smuggled, tattooed inside our skin, hatched into our bones, where we can feel the oppression always so well justified. We never took up our arms. It never fired rounds into the face of the abyss of tyranny. I have never changed, was always free as the breeze, more open to life than life itself, curious always, waiting for the time we are appointed to expire, that you cannot press us down or suppress our words. Always we will claw through and walk the avenues of a broken world again. Dream with me on the bedroom floor of your life. Fall unconscious into that dream. And dream again. Die and wake up and find yourself changed in motion, waiting for the last moment you have. The pain in my soul will never vanish, but you will not always notice it. The freedom of youth goes away. When those who want power are never overthrown, the desire for love is never outgrown. I desire to have you completely. In your embrace, we will learn about the future. In my mind, I could hear nothing except the whispers of the meadows, where we lay together. And I knew I felt calm in the moments where dreams carried me to a land that would no longer be familiar, where I saw you and you kissed my lips in my dreams. And I fell and drowned into the ocean that was my bed, and knew I would never reemerge from the waters I'd been capsized under. You kissed me like a stranger, but I knew you. You were welcome. You were always present. You were always waiting to ignite the world. I knew every moment would be a new beginning, a new and glorious sunrise. And as the hours passed, we would sit alone, dreaming about the world, looking at the sunrise across the mountains. None of our words were exaggerations. Everything was true. We wrote these words in books and sent them to every politician in the world. But none of these words even reached their ears. They never listened, and they never stopped. They always moved forward forever. I desire to have you completely. I fall under your spell within a world that has lost its serenity. It has burned up with its own passion for things it no longer desired. But truly, it would always want these things. But their dreams would never let them down, always guide them to their rightful place. The place was never silent. The world was darker than the abyss you had fallen into. We knew about the world we had forgotten, the world we had lost. In a near embrace, we learned about the future of this world, where we'll go and how we'll find it again. Without you, there is nothing but chaos. Long ago, I passed away, and now I'm floating through time and space. They never will see you again. The anthem of forever, the anthem of solitude, coursing through the airwaves. Every day, I'm striving to understand the world better, make it a better place. I'm falling to eternity. I'm grasping at nothing but air. I'm feeling the slowness of the rhythm, the motion of the sea, the water coursing against my head as you help me. Come guide me through these dreams. Be faithful always. Remember the secrets you told me we told in our youth, and always remember them. And when the creatures in the night come to find us, we will follow those doves that fly through the forest, out of the forest. And then we will sit somewhere and watch the sunrise together. And then you will whisper quiet words to me in that tent. We will both fall asleep protected by the castle of each other's arms. Until the world ends, this will go on forever. Come and be with me in this moment. The truth in our souls was never thought about by the world. We grasped onto a higher power, someone to hold on to us, but could feel nothing. We opened our eyes and could see nothing. We let go of the foolish dreams of our past. We walked through the world, ready to take on all it has to offer us. Love songs in our souls were all about the things we liked. We held them close to ourselves. We knew only one thing. We had attributed to God the power of the devil, but the pain in our hearts would drive forward forever. We could not tell who the master of this world was, but at the same time, we were never owned. We were free to make our own choices within this same world. We held on to the instruments of our own songs, never letting them go. Even eons after we were done singing, all we ever wanted to do, so close to us, we could feel it. Never experiencing it. Come and be with me tonight. Hold me closer, and don't be away from me. They cannot force me to do what they want or control me. The life within your veins was mine as well. The tears from your eyes, there was nothing I could do to prevent them. No promise could take that pain away. Amazing how much through the years I've changed. After my life ended, it had changed it all. Always wanted what I wanted during my life, never finding it. Always the desire to have it. All I want to be held close in the arms of what I know. Never forget me. We can stay inside our doors and write letters. Those letters never reach the eyes of anyone else. You breathe with me across the broken pages of your life. You write with the ink of your own blood. Then when time passed in the world, there was nothing else we could do to stop it, even though we wanted to stay with this single moment forever. I feel you calling my name through the halls of the classrooms. You know where I stood alone, where I lost my life. I need you here in this dark moment. I desired everything or nothing at all. I picked up my backpack and walked across the nation, from New York to San Diego, and on the beach I watched the waves and saw them hit my feet. My heart came unhinged, losing its ability to stay calm, burying itself in its own fire, lighting itself on fire in its own anguish. I dreamed of walking so far away from here that I reached the streets of San Diego, and once again, the waves hit my feet. I was no longer hungry for food, always satisfied. I wanted to go somewhere no one could find me. Life was eclipsed by death. But on the other side of the eclipse, there was always light. Nothing could snuff it out, only block it out temporarily. We pulled the pin of the hand grenade and left it where our past lives used to be. I would have dreamed about a happy future forever, but would never come back. Darkness totally flooded our souls. Life became a never-ending routine of looking for something and never finding it. We were ready to make the most of our time within the world, but there were too many distractions. We could not innovate or do better. We stared at the screens and obeyed all of its messages. I opened my front door and stared into the night and never returned. The window of our lives, through which we see the future. We stand here in the house of glass. We are here from now on until the end of all time. The life in our bones overflows, but we are still here in this room, unable to move or to see anything other than the past, never looking into the future, never having any notion of the nature of eternity in any sense. We are here, souls alone, the heaving and the deep breathing and panting after running so far and forever. What protrudes out of my tired motions? Nothing but my own spirit. The soul that I had loved had never held another. We wait by the river and stay here watching the ripples of water as they fall down the waterfall. No one will ever understand me, and no one will hold me closer than you yourself. In the nights when everyone forgets about me, remember what I was reaching out for. Remember the sound of my voice. In those quiet nights, when you will no longer feel the motion of the sea of our own hearts, the open questions of our lives would never again be answered. When these answers were spoken, we did not slow down to listen to them. I hear the music in my life cascading forward forever. The mind can be filled with so much fear, and this fear leads now and always to despair. The touch of souls, the betrayal of souls when the winds are stingily cold, just deprived of all hope, the sores in our souls. I'm here again waiting by the lake, where we spoke together, the hatred within souls that never listened to another, the joy within souls that heard music in nights alone. Even though we were alone, we still believed, we still commemorated the lives of those who had lived not long ago and were just like us.
Part 3. The Daughter, from Hope's Perspective.
I danced with the stranger as they announced that the bombs would soon fall. I held on to him like a lover for all eternity. He'd leave my hotel room the next morning, and I doubt I will see him again, as they continued to announce the details of the coming nuclear holocaust. I grew closer to the moments when I knew there was no hope left in the world. I had become so familiar with these moments that I embraced them. I moved my body to the beat of the music, and the news reporter was making audible sounds of grief. The whole bar lifted up their glasses and began chanting to the beat of the song. It's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine. Come and hold the beauty of this moment with me. Celebrate. Life is only a few shots away from the Armageddon we fantasized about. Everything but romantic. Everything tragic. Like the world will never be the same while we are traversing it again. One great traitor, and God only knows if we will stand in the rain of sunshine again. Pour another shot and fill my cup, like the ashes fade away in the wind, of the world we used to believe in, of the oceans of my cup, through which these ashes flow, never to be seen again. I am like those ashes. I presume I could float through the wind too, and no one at all would ever know where I've fallen off to. Where once were people exuberantly celebrating, now they're only tears that proceed after violence. Like violence, you take me over. You watch as I flip quietly through the clouds of a dark world. I miss the world that was familiar, not the one that changes, or the one filled with disaster, only design your comfortable life. All I have now are sleepless nights. As we walk the streets where there are always warnings of sirens of death, warnings of the bombs about to fall, the governments then would seize total control of everything. We couldn't speak without a hand over our mouths and the knife to our back. No one listening in the shadow of our rooms. No one here would ever stand back and dream in a small room and feel anything at all, other than the constant torment, post-traumatic stress, following me everywhere, calling me by name, a shard of a skyscraper, penetrating my own heart. motivating me to take my pen and write, and never stop writing. Always believing that there will be moments in the future when we won't be feeling these same terrible emotions, rocked like the wind in a boat in the middle of the ocean. I walked through the swarm as the onlookers lifted the sky. We were all aware of the mistakes we made. We all wanted to be far away, but had no strength to move. This was the worst time of our lives. The night would be nothing but violence. The morning would be only silence. For the first time in our lives, we knew tomorrow would never come. All we had to do was wait. The most strenuous hours. The ones who had control over our world. The heads of the monopolies and the heads of state and the celebrities never let go of their grasp on the world. Even at the very end, the power never belonged to the people. The world changed in one night. Flashes of light in the sky. And our fears were realized. We have nowhere to run or to escape to. The vital signs of my soul, wavering every moment of my life. Where the wind blows small all across the city, we grow closer to each other. In our desperate and calamitous future, the nation did not mourn the end of the world. No nation did, but it proceeded on like everything was going to stay the same forever. We all deny that our lives will ever come to an end. I had such a hard time believing that I would not live forever. I dreamed so closely to the floor of the world. I hit the ground hard when I fell to the earth. I believed in what was greater than love itself. We had nowhere in the world to hide. Everywhere we went, we were exposed, in preparation for the arrival of God Himself. All of our secrets were exposed. We knew all about each other. We knew the pain in each other's hearts, but then never stopped the bombs from tumbling down on us. True understanding never stopped us from wanting to take what never belonged to us, and we could not stop the world from ending. I realized how lifeless these streets themselves had become. As I traversed through them each night, I felt the spirit of my parents with me, though both had died, long before their time. I dreamed on the floor of your despair. I went through the alleyways of your heart and fell into the ocean of disjointed panic. I was torn in pieces when I learned that all the knowledge I attained at the end of the world could not save us and was all we would have. I don't want to feel a thing if it does not satisfy my soul. You satisfy my soul, and I feel your comforting touch, the resolution within our hearts to never wake up alone in the world, where all we have is darkness and no one listens. In the memory of the lives we had, we were always drifting between places, from the coffee shop across the street to the restaurants, the churches, streets, near the state capitol building. No one at all believed we could do anything at all to better ourselves, without putting money in the pockets of those who never cared about us, without serving to build up the castles and fortifications which we wanted to tear down. And we stood there as distant souls divided, desolate, and demonstrating that nothing about the world was ever sure, except those who seized their control would never let us go. They would never stop clawing into our sides, squeezing us and crushing us. It would never escape again. We saw the meteors fall and cascade into the earth, hitting the water, flooding the streets of New York City. Even after the world was almost obliterated, governments still had their fingers on the triggers of the bombs that soon would fall and deal a killing blow to us all. We were the last ones to experience pain in the world, after most of the world was gone. We still hated each other. Hate was overflowing and nothing could stop it. I walked the streets and up the flooded city, my hoodie over my face, my eyes covered by darkness, and how great was that darkness inside me. You would not believe or understand. I knew the spirits of the past were with me and beside me. And I came to the fields and saw those in the forest collecting all the flowers in the world, the last piece of beauty that remained. They collected them, hoping to seize them all. And the trees began to die because of the pollution in the air. The air itself was difficult to breathe, and I continued walking through the world, believing still that the life within the world was still resilient, could survive even this. I was the last person in the world, and there would be no one left to understand me. I hear cascading like the waterfalls of the world, the fear within our hearts, which I had so quickly resigned to. I resigned myself to the fact that there was nothing at all I could do to save myself, or to bring satisfaction to the hearts, which will never be filled again. I'd run out of words completely, and ways to put these words together, because after the world ended, all that was left was my own creative spirit, riding throughout the world. However, none of the things I created were tangible. They only lasted for a moment, and then they stopped and were consumed by hatred. And they could not last long enough for anyone to admire them. I had my own world indeed now, but no one could enjoy the good things in this world, because hatred would destroy them all. And then I understood what God himself felt when he created humankind to flood the world with good things, only for them to be destroyed, wasted, and stolen so easily, for us not to extend the offer of love, but instead to fall so deeply into the desperate shell of our hearts that we knew the world was nothing but panic, and no one could find their own home, because every time we built something so valuable, it was torn down by those demons, wielding cruel and inefficient tools. But they were persistent and resilient in these shadows, and tore down every place in the world we could have made our home. Rays of truth cutting through our hearts, the desperate shell within a world where we stand. You looked at me as I spread my art with everyone in the world, saying that words could not change the world. Come right on and find me. Homes here at the end of the world, and they will be here after, even after all is destroyed, the universe vast, and its expanse never-ending. Hold me here in this moment as we stand so far away from the stars. We are burning out bright, like those stars themselves. Hold me closer in the moments where words become more than what they appear to be, when the melody also appears, and you can see it finally after 1,000 years of being in the dark about this melody. Come here now and forever. Experience the joy that I have been feeling all this time. The light of the body is my own experience, the joy and the disaster inside my mind. When you have no knowledge of the intent behind my words, you never understand the vicious nature that shall we fall into. The solution is a passion, all-embracing, which you can never escape from, an attraction to love, a greed, a knowledge, or lust of creation, from which we know the truth will guide us home forever. Opposite equals always coming together, even though separated for what seems like forever when we die, as it seems we will be nothing at all. But here we are at the very end of the world, and will we be raised up at all on the last day? I called your name, and there was silence. Words had become like violence. The mask came off from all the men in the world who are gathering up the flowers and throwing them into the fires. We never remained in you, or you in us. We stood as souls alone. We didn't listen to the warnings from heaven. And in the end, there was no one else at all here to listen to our screams as the mask came off from those demons, those rogue monsters, and there was no resistance anywhere in the world. There was no leader to eliminate. In our war against these creatures, all we did do was sit and stand. We listened to songs about how, if we did surrender our identities, our power, our love to the government to prevent us from destroying ourselves, the world would end. The government seized the power gleefully, and in the end slit our throats all the same. We were like sheep in the slaughter, but we were not alone. Our sacrifice atoned for nothing. What we did to prevent the end of the world brought about its fruition instead. The greatest sadness, tangible, no longer something I needed to describe, because we all have felt the taste of the depression that falls over us. After the eternal nights of loneliness, we made promises to each other for better or for worse, but that could not save us. Nevertheless, our kiss was not in vain. It was here in its own moment, Sadie, staying here forever. I was in this room, and I learned to call everything by its true name, as if I had seen the future, and known with certainty everything that would happen this year. And no one at all would listen to the warnings of hell, here or ever again, the trials and tribulations. Outside our shell, and the meteors still fell from the skies.
Part 4, The Poet. From the poet's perspective. I walk through a world that can't see the beauty in art, that no longer chases after it, that calculates instead of reaching out to God, that falls and never rises, dwelling in the darkness, never asking for a taste of the life, dreaming and lamenting about the lives that we could have, if only we opened our souls to this light. Nothing else matters to me, except understanding where we came from and where we are going. If you go, you know I will follow. If you ask, you know I will give you what you desire. We've just one night to get through. Our anthem in this night against the poverty that we face. My love, our souls will ache, our minds against the world. Two lost souls who found each other, no longer lost, but treading through the oceans. Our one lifetime we reach out for, everything in the arms of the other. Tanika, through the storm, the clouds of desperation, when what we need is a miracle. In all these moments, I reach out for you. We ran together through the storm, from the vampires that sought to slay our souls. And we came together, and I held you and whispered in your ear stories about a life we would live together, and a world we're searching for. And I said, we've got just one more night to get through. And in the morning, there was a calm the world had never known. We built a home together and soldered our lives together, and there were tears of joy when we understood the magic that brought us here. You held on when you needed me, and nothing could keep us apart. I've loved you, I've kissed you, all the doors of me were open to you. I've shattered every image of hopelessness until I could trot a course back to you. I've had my cup overflowing with joy when I finally found you. I would have traversed the whole world just to be with you. The waves of these oceans, they crash against my feet. The dreams of the future, lost somewhere in the place where we no longer put pen to paper. If anyone heard our words, that would be enough. The truth in our souls begs to be expressed, motivates the world. I dream of finding a place where I can be heard, somewhere words are contemplated, value heard, lies regurgitated, taken and believed. Meanwhile, we stand somewhere they will never comprehend us, hands against hands. Greater is what is between us than all who are in the world. The life in my soul is clearly manifested in my poems. The depth and the desire to be with her somewhere across these oceans, to fall into her arms. Simple, patient above all things, we ran toward each other and never wanted to be away from each other. We dreamed together on the floor of the bedroom. We gazed up at the stars in our minds. We fell into the empire of each other's dreams. This empire was ours. No one could take it away from us. We would meet there together. We were far away from anyone who could take what we had found away from us. We both felt safe and understood, wanted, totally free. In this world, the promises we made to each other were true, and nothing could break them. In this world, our nights crept on forever, and we knew mortality would never keep us apart. Did you know what was lost when you burned down the home with the one I love? The lie when we worship a stone, which could never forgive us. She was alone in the world, coughing at the cold wind. Her home was destroyed. I could not reach out to her. The frigid air in the night covers me in its embrace. Avarice became a need within your soul, and as avarice became a hate, when you took from me what was never yours. I am a poet, and I am not alone. I have an open heart and open arms and a pen that never flows short. Scars across my body where I have been cut throughout the years. Some have healed, some are wide open, seething, but always at peace with the world. They know that nothing else can harm them. After all the pain they have been through, we fall into the last and eternal fire. We dive head first. I remember standing on skyscrapers and watching the crowds below. We are far above the rest of the world. We dream of flying so far that no one will find us again, because that is somewhere I want to be. My phone will never ring again, and I will not have to suffer alone. Find me in these shadows somewhere long after I'm gone. I am filled with ecstatic thoughts that pull me far away from where I am, from where I was always comfortable. The secret in my soul, the brokenness, I can no longer hide it. I was walking through these hallways. I was crawling out of my skin. I believe in the glorious chances we have to escape this life, to become somewhat more than what we are. I am alone again, writing the thoughts that flood my brain. Across the pages of the journal, I am scribing my life story in silky words. I believe we belong together, where you are, scrawling out pages of your own, dreaming about better worlds. On the other side of our world, come and find me, somewhere, anywhere, when I dream of you, because I have not yet met you, but I love you, and you're everything to me. Everything is open in the arms of the other. We will meet somewhere out at sea and fall deeply into each other's arms. My only fear is never finding you. My only fear is running out of words and staying stagnant. The life of the world blows me to pieces. There is glory somewhere behind the stars. Listen very carefully. There once was a world where the philosophers understood the meaning of life. But after so many wars, they forgot and fell into the nihilism of the passing time. They could not escape or understand what I believe in. And then I sit alone writing, as a million trains passed us by, and the philosophers were long dead, and we were free to create our own pictures. There are letters carved into trees that you can read, and they tell millions of truths, epic stories of lives that passed so long ago. We are losing touch with each other. We are falling away from the mercy of each other's arms. We are drowning in the void of the dark oceans, swimming somewhere hoping to one day find meaning. In these silent moments where we speak but don't hear a sound, I'm a lover and I'm not alone. I create new worlds with my words. I dream of new beginnings where, after so much torment, it fades away, giving way to only things that are beautiful. And I never could describe the torment because there was no one to describe it to. The monsters traverse the world looking for souls to steal, and hearts to torment, minds to corrupt, and drinks to swallow whole. I was always alone in the world, hiding from them. Poetry is enshrined in time, never changing, always in one moment telling the truth. No seasons pass for it. Hold me closer in the moment when my soul sings. Hold me like the melody that you would never forget, songs that remind you of good times long ago. If you can feel my heart, hold it, never let it go. Dream with me on ships taking us far away from the places we never called home. Hold me closer when all the lights go out, and all we have is each other in moments when we are uncertain if I will ever be able to find you. All creation was always drifting toward the moment when my hand met yours, when lives are enshrined in of words, souls are intertwined, we fall deeper into the heart of the other. I've seen faces fade away in my mind. I've seen ashes float into the air and dissipate, no one ever knowing where they went. What we hold dear was never permanent. No way to celebrate what is passing. Phone calls with dear friends, but the time is passing relentlessly. There will be no way to stop time. Greet me in this morning after we realized that our lives were passing away. In the morning, we realized how glorious the morning had to come. The world had become a night of joy, but it did not last. Hold me closer to heaven. Keep me there, and don't let me ever leave. What if I could understand and not waste my time? What if the world was never blind? What if we held ourselves closer to the light? What if you could perceive the torment inside my eyes? What if we ourselves are fading lights, but we are slipping further into those shadows, where once we trip and fall into that pit, we will never again arise. Falling deeper into the depths, we will never again arise. I hear music blaring, speakers distorting, my ears are ringing, the roaring lives we lived, while inside of my soul there is a story that will never be fully told. Inside of the monuments we built in the sky, our perfect moments we hope to spend together. We travel so many miles in hope to gain the strength to never stop and to always prod ourselves forward on a journey farther than anyone has ever traveled before. All I have today is a life lived behind closed doors, a life in the shadows alone, and by the light of the candles I write. Thoughts that have ruminated my mind and made their home here for far too long. We can never ask them to leave. They stay here unfettered, taking what they like from me. I like to believe that there is something beautiful inside our hearts. I like to feel the joy inside the morning of that last sunrise I will ever see. I carry so much joy with me and unfold the inner layers of my heart and display them for the world to see. I will always be here writing. I will always be here telling my story across the pages of silence in the morning, in the moments of the night. When the night is louder than any words, its cruel atmosphere of nothing surrounds us. Here we are, the last broken piece of joy, the cruelty we have faced within the same world. We were so young, but the world met us with venom. We are reminded every night of the hail of hopelessness that falls over us, beating into the walls of our roof, telling us that all we will have left in the end is nothing. Open your eyes to lights around you. In the future, we will be the ones that the world remembers. In the future, the world will see history from our perspective. I feel it in my bones that our lights will not go out. The memories of our past gone forever, but we press forward forever. We dream of days and situations where we have love to believe in, and we can hold on to that. What we leave behind guides those who come after us, and I will be remembered forever. I hold the memories close, the ones that are still left. They are so valuable to me, because most of them are gone. But here I am in love, telling you the secrets of my inner soul. Here I am, the last one to inscribe words, no matter how soon we will be incinerated. Know that we meant something to the other, and life reaches out always for love. The days we dream about each other, and forgot about the torment in our souls. Pure emotion presses us on forward. Despite the anguish, words will be written here that no one can forget. Lives broken. All I want is to listen as dreams become experience, as experience becomes memory, and memories build up to a family, and a family to eternal life, and eternal life to love forever, and I am nothing else but here writing. We loved each other despite our flaws, and I traveled across these states with you. I knew that if time crawled forward long enough, we would see 20,000 rising suns. Hold on to the love you have. Never let go of it. The ones collecting the flowers of the world took them, and we never saw them again. But here today we plant our own futures into the ground, roots that no one can uproot but God himself, roots so deep that the emotion in my soul was glowing in a desperation to find somewhere I belong, somewhere alone with you. We labored all the days and never had time to collect our thoughts. The hours were long, dreadful, and our bodies were shaking, unable to lift the objects we were told to, collapsing to the ground, the strength within souls crushed. The words we said can never be taken back. They are now shared with the rest of the world. The deepest part of my heart is for sale. Come here and dream with me. Write words with me that you will hear. In the morning when the radio is on softly, and we can hear the reports of the news within the world we know, that we will never be swept off from without consequence. If you can hold me closer, you will follow me into a new world, the light of the room growing dim. The night will soon envelop the world, and I will not sleep until morning. Stay awake with me and watch, if only for an hour at least. We will understand each other, while the rest of the world is sinking and sleeping. The world turned against you, and then I turned against the world. Our woken minds themselves had found each other, while the rest of the world was fast asleep. We experienced the same lights, together in the darkness that no one else could see. We walked down the road together hand in hand. We felt the peace within our hearts. The night falling once again upon this hemisphere. We run away from what drives us crazy. We strive to hold on to what we have, and we crave the morning more than anything else. The new day to bring with it new inspirations. As the hours pass, we watch the ceiling, knowing now and forever the passing of time itself is poetry. The night seems to never pass, so we leave and explore the city, our hearts battered by God himself, and we traverse the lonely streets, always knowing inside what we see. The whisper in the night calling us, a new world opening up to us. The poem itself is alive, as the highway, as a street, and many pass through. The poem itself is as free as the wind, and as of new love found. The creation of new worlds, the love in youth never found. In fact, all we knew was violence, the recurring theme of our lives, the mood set with the strokes of the violins. I call out to you again, now and forever. I say your name, knowing that it is better to sing, it is better to cry. Come here with me now, and fall asleep away from the darkness, always craving the light, that surrounding the dark, that was we once found. Now we no longer can find it, and all we want is the light in this world, where we could feel the grief pass away as well. I never fit in with the crowd. I always had to stand out. I disappeared, and no one could tell my name. At the gate of my flight, I whisper the love in my soul. It is as loud as I can scream. And if you can hear this, I believe that salvation will find us. Pain is so easy to find, where there is no voice to guide us. When the verses held close in our hearts are forgotten, when no new poets are here again to write them. There are opportunities to be recreated every day. In the sunrise itself, as time passes, we all are chemically altered and turned into something completely new, changed and crafted by fire itself. Modern life frights me, and all I think about is escape from the routine of this life. In order to find existence somewhere far away from here, where inspiration will always find me and visit me where the time is right. The muses themselves are now on boat, and hear the oceans cry out for words to be written about them. What we can only point to, but what we can never describe, while we are victims of the passing time. Why is it that her skies are filled with magic? Why is it that her life now and always was filled with uncertainty for what she will do in the future to avoid being alone? Fear and nothing more of being alone in the world. Poetry is life and compassion. She walks through the world, voice as unheard as it is brave, truly as desperate as it is sure. Her words hidden somewhere, you will not be able to find them. They are hidden deep in her heart. And on whatever pages she was able to shed ink, leaving a mark everywhere. Homes destroyed, she was taken somewhere far away. She lays asleep and dreams, and her poetry punches through the holes in your heart. And your heart is once again whole. But now we are laying on the grass, looking out at the stars, wondering why we together will never escape. I have known her such a short time, and I will love her forevermore. The walls we put up to keep ourselves away from the other, we thought they were impenetrable, but they would paper thin. We had life inside our souls, and all we wanted was to share it with the rest of the world. To open up so that everyone could hear our voices. I looked into the eyes of my brown-eyed girl as we both lay on the grass. I hold love close, and we are afraid of all the ways we are 10 minutes from midnight. The lights of the city, fluorescent glow, the overwhelming swell. I sit alone and watch. The world grows colder as the world celebrates and uses up the last of the warmth, not knowing that when it is gone, there will be no other way to survive. I'm a poet and I will write forever, here, describing every rhythm, the flow of the city, the dreams we once had in our youth, now unattainable as they seem, the night when we refused to have compassion. Tell me everything you have experienced in the last 10 years. Show me how much torment within your mind can decimate our hope for the future. The politicians never cared for our future. They only cared for power. The rain never ends tonight. And I come home and shut the door and hear the pattering of the rain against my window for the rest of the night. The death within our minds. Never will we have the same joy again, which we had in our youth. She waited for the last train to come. When it arrived, it swept her far away from the city. Hiding under the covers, she folded over herself, insecure. All we ever ask for is joy. She never stopped searching for it. The next verse of the next song, the next day of our new life, the words with our souls. No one hears them, but they echo through the universe of my mind. I will stay here for hours, laboring in the joy of a new morning. I stay at whole night writing. It is all I know. She is somewhere alone, and I will never reach out to her, because I have not met her. The creases of my skin have scars that tell the story of my life. The folds in my soul are even more war-torn. We never stop fighting for what we love, breathing in the life in the new world. Hold me closer each moment of our lives and never let go. I was never made to be alone. I always hope that the new day will offer us a place to wait together. Joseph Leo Hickey lives in Virginia. He is the author of 13 of the poetry books, including Baptism of Apathy, Unity, Love Poems at the End of Our Lives, Leafy, The Last Poem, Purity Redeemed, The Penultimate Poems, Harmony, The Revenant, I Know Nothing But Miracles, Walt Whitman's Base to the Modern World, Shrewd Out of the Soil, There's a Thread in the Dark, and American-Born Songs of the Silent Nation. He is currently 29 years old. He is the founder of Palladium House. YouTube, All the Stars Are Dead. He can be reached at joseph@palladiumhouse.com. This presentation was read by the author. Thank you for listening.